And we are back, folks, here on Michigan Insider on the Big 1050 WTKA, online at the big1050.com. And we are now live here on the Michigan Insider inside the studio. And you know, we do it special when we go live here inside the studio. And glad to be joined by my man, my guy, our guy, fresh on the heels of year one. It is in the books. We are here live in studio with Michigan basketball coach Dusty May. Dusty, how you doing, man?
Doing well, Sam. It's been busy. Seems like now the off season's is busier than the season, but that's a good thing.
Yeah, man. It's no rest for the weary, as they say. No off season, as you just said. And now more so than ever, as not only do you have to recruit the recruits, you got to recruit your roster. You got to recruit the portal, as you well know. But Dusty, we gotta have some moments of reflection, man, because we look back on a season that you had to build a roster and you had to get started and with constructing it, piecing together pieces that a lot of people wonder how it was going to fit. And really hit the ground running with the staff. A lot of things that had to come together. I don't know if people knew if it was going to come together quite as well as it did, but boy, did it ever. And you guys had a pretty magical run.
Yeah, Sam, we did. It was a fun year. This time last year was exciting because it was a blank canvas, and the guys that decided to stay were invaluable. And then the initial recruits that we were able to get, the Vlad and Roddy and Trey and Danny, it started with those guys, and then we were able to build the roster out with some youth around them with LJ and whatnot. So a very, very productive, last spring and summer, which led to our success during the season, and that's how we look at it now. These past few weeks will determine if we're able to play deep into March and possibly April next year.
I told you this. I said, man, you're everything I thought you would be. Everything I thought you would be in this job. So I feel like this is my expectation. When you look back and at the roster and how you put it together, did it go exactly? I'm really thinking about especially the two big lineup and how that came together. Was that everything you thought it was going to be, or was it more in retrospect?
It was probably a little bit more than we expected. And when you talk about the expectations of this job, I was very fortunate to be surrounded by the staff and players that were connected. They were committed to each other. They made everyone around them better. And then you see this group just grow organically over a 7-8 month process. But back to that group, obviously Danny and Vlad, they received a lot of the acclaim, and it was well deserved because what they were doing was rare. It was exciting. And so we ran with it. But those other guys, Trey and Roddy and Namari and Will, they made it work with their unselfishness, with their ability to shoot the basketball. So, it came together. We tinkered with it in the summer. We tinkered with it in the fall. And then once the game slows down, everything is different in basketball. It's like the NBA playoffs versus the regular season, two different sports. And so that became a real unique weapon for us when the game slowed down, to have something we could go to generate a high percentage shot.
Mm-hmm. And then as you get into the conference, I could see how your approach to how you play, how you thrive in the conference evolve. Certainly coming off of that Purdue game, do you adapt to the conference? Some coaches feel like, hey, man, they need to adapt to me. You're like, hey, man, this is we need freedom of movement. They need to call more fouls. That's not what you said. You said, hey, we need to get tougher. We need to play more physical. That was a very clear message that you delivered, saying, hey, our guy told us this. Will Cheddar told us we need to play a certain kind of way, and you guys started to do that.
Yeah, coming from the leagues that our guys came from, they didn't understand how physical it was going to be. And until you live it, you really never understand. I mean, it's just like a child touching a stove. You can tell them stop touching the stove, but until they feel it and have to experience it, then that ultimately changes their behavior. So all summer we'd foul in practice, or what would be gray area foul. And the guy getting fouled would complain to the officiating, which is our staff typically in practice. And our response was always, guys, it's going to be a lot more physical than that in the Big Ten. And Will usually had our back with echoing that same message. And Roddy Gale as well, because he had played in the league. But yeah, there were a few nights when it was eye-opening how physical it was. And we didn't construct our roster with the physicality in mind. We recruited size and skill and really talented players. We felt like we figured out a way to put it together. So there were a lot of things that went into it. And so I think more than anything else, just once we experienced it, when you have guys who want to win and they're competitive, then they'll adjust. But just saying this is how it's going to be sometimes is a lot more difficult than actually experiencing it.
So as you went through the league this year, and as you saw how this team played, you competed for the Big Ten regular season crown, fell just short, won the Big Ten tournament, made it to the Sweet 16. Was there anything about how the team performed that sort of shifted any thoughts or ideas about roster construction coming out of that year?
Not really, Sam. We're going to try to get the most talented, team-oriented players we can get, and we have confidence that when you have that, you'll figure out a way to make it work at its best, function at its best. So yeah, we obviously want to be big. There's certain things in the Big Ten to win a conference championship. You can't be small. You have to have positional size across the board. And so we have that. But as far as the other stuff, yeah, we've went out and addressed some of our immediate needs. But for the most part, it's been let's continue to get really talented players that want to get better, and we'll mesh them together whatever the best way for us to play. But we also want to be different than the Big Ten teams. I think if you go into it and you want to be just like this team or that team, then you better have better players, or whatever the case, or you better get breaks that night. And we really don't want to rely on those things. We want to have our own unique niche. But the Big Ten now, it's a lot different than it was with the West Coast teams, the LA teams, the upper north. There's a lot of different styles of play. So I think that's probably the thing that I guess we recommitted to making sure we have a team that can win one way one night and a different way another night.
Mm-hmm. So how different was it for you as you guys sort of approached the portal this time around with basically you had some cachet? I mean, you had a resume you had a resume before, but you had a resume at Michigan this time, right? And so what was that like as you guys sort of got out and about, not talking about specific guys, of course, but did you notice a difference in response and receptiveness?
We were much better received this year than we were last. And then last year we were as well, but I think when we were recruiting the big guys, because our FAU teams didn't play that way, they questioned whether it would work. And I think there's a lot of dishonesty in recruiting. And so I think they just kind of assumed that we were lying just to get them. So we'd figure out a way, just to get them here, and then we'd figure it out. But the vision was to play those two guys together. And that also allowed us to maybe not be quite as big at the 2 and the 3 or whatever the case. So, but most importantly, we knew how good Vlad was because we had seen it up close for the last several years. And then we really believed in Danny and those other guys. So, but yeah, this year it's been different where we have a different style of play to sell. And so when you're going against competition and people that aren't in your corner, they're pointing out the things that are negative and aren't going to work. So it gives us a little bit of flexibility where if it's this type of player, well, we've had those guys do well. And if it's this type of player, we've also had those guys do well. So I think it gives us a little bit of street cred that we'll figure out a best way to use really talented players.
Yeah. So you obviously we're very successful in balancing. We got a team to coach, a task at hand when it comes to preparing for playing these games, and then obviously, attacking the portal. How did you guys, what was the process for balancing that as a staff?
Well, we have a staff that are absolute basketball junkies. If you see our staff thread at 11:30 at night, there's conversations going on about 6 or 7 different games. Hey, did you see this in the Mountain West game? This team did this. They fouled late. They made this mistake. Hey, that's a great way to show, it's something that we should show our guys tomorrow that maybe we could prevent that from happening. And so I think we have a pretty big net of, I guess, knowledge knowledge of players. And so when a guy goes in the portal, or you hear they're getting ready to go in the portal, then you immediately have at least a reference point of, oh yeah, I watched that team play, man, they're tough, or they're really good, or man, they shoot it well, whatever the case, you at least have a reference point. So, and then at that point, you just kind of, you turn on Synergy and you see if it fits, and you study the numbers, and you send the names to your analytics people to see what fits best in your system. And then the most importantly, we're not drafting these guys. So we've got to figure out which ones we can get and which ones we have connections to. So there's a lot of layers to it, but it's quick, decisive decisions. And that's why, I think sometimes we've been right, because probably I err with overthinking and probably shooting holes in too many things. It's nice sometimes just to make a quick, decisive decision off that first day or two of intel.
Yeah, man. And so, at what point in the season was it pretty clear to you, with Danny, for instance, that, hey, you know what, he's probably going to go? I mean, are you having that discussion with him sort of very candidly? Hey, Danny, is it looking this kind of way? I mean, how is that going?
During the season, no. It was more of, let's make sure we're compartmentalizing your dream versus this team. And Danny did a great job. I never heard him talk about the draft boards or whatever the case, but it's the elephant in the room. Everyone's talking about it. It's these young guys, their ultimate dream is to play in the association. And so they talk about it. And so it can't become a distraction, and that can't be why you're playing, because they liked you because of the way you were playing before. And so it's just talking to him about staying the course and just being himself and not putting pressure, thinking about the long-term future. And then after the season's over, it's sitting down and trying to make sure that he's aligned with us and we're aligned with him, and we're supportive of his dreams. And all feedback and intel comes back in time. But the early, the early reports we have that he's in very, very good shape. And I think in today's climate, if you get a guaranteed first-round pick by a team that believes in you and wants to grow with you, you probably need to take it. So that's where we are now.
Mm-hmm. So the Trey Donaldson conversation, obviously from an outsider standpoint, it hit the fan base like a ton of bricks. I'm curious for you guys as a coaching staff, when the discussion about him leaving come about, and what kind of led up to that?
Well, it's complicated on a number of levels, because we're managing a salary pool, we're managing a cap, and we're managing a roster, and we knew the Elliot Cadeau thing happened quickly. We had some deep relationships with his circle.
Yeah. If we can't get into players.
Gosh, yeah. Well, when certain players come in, it automatically raises red flags with other guys. Mm-hmm. And so, it's always impactful. Just like every single player you get out of the portal, it might impact someone else on your roster. It's happening all over the country. We talk about it. When one guy goes in, another guy might go out. And so it's just part of it. But our job is always to do the best job for the University of Michigan, and their job is always to put themselves in best position for their long-term success.
So, I wondered, I guess my concept of Trey was as a combo, right? And this was maybe a projection on my part, as a guy who could play on or off the ball equal minutes. And maybe his perception was one of a guy who was going to play on the ball all the minutes, right? And I don't know if that was maybe more the thinking, as opposed to his way, or the latter was maybe the way of thinking, as opposed to the former. I don't know if one is more in line. If you can correct that, is that maybe?
Yeah, Trey can play both. I mean, Trey's strong enough and athletic enough. He could play the three if needed, but it's more of.
I'm talking about it in terms of what he wanted to do, or what he wants to do.
I can't speak for Trey. Obviously, he for his long-term potential, he needed the ball in his hands more than half the game, or more than a third of the game, whatever the case. And so, I grew very close with Trey. I mean, he did a lot for us. He played really, really well. And so that's the toughest part of this era, where you're always, it's always in flux. But once again, very, very appreciative of what he did for me, for us, for all of the Michigan fans and people that enjoyed watching us play, and our season ticket holders, our student section. He did. But this is just the new climate of college basketball, where we're always balancing what's best for the individual, and sometimes it works out this way. But once again, there's no love lost with like Trey. I'm going to be rooting like heck for him at the U. Good friends with their staff, so I'm excited to see where he ends up and following his career.
Yeah, and you know what, I think fans have to learn to kind of take a page out of that book, because it's tough. Like you get attached to a guy as you as a coach, you get more attached than a fan does, right? And so to be able to maybe learn that kind of approach and say, hey, you know what, I'm going to root for you. I'm going to root for you to have success. I'm going to miss you. But at the same time, hey, we got to do what's best for the program too, and look at what we get on the upside. And, maybe there can be some growth, some positives that we're able to get moving forward, what we gain coming out of the portal as well. So,
yeah, I think, Sam, in any partnership, and that's what it is. It's a partnership with our staff. It's a partnership with our players. And I think Trey really benefited from being here. He improved as a player. He grew as a person. He's much more equipped for the real world now than he was a year ago. And we're much, much better off because he came to join us a year ago as well. So at the end of the day, that's ultimately what we look at the most. Was this partnership healthy and successful for both of us?
So without getting into specific guys, I know you made some moves, or you made a move in the portal already. You got LJ, right? But Justin decided to go in the portal as well. If you can maybe speak to that. But what about the, as far as your point guard position, do you feel like you're where you want to be there? Do you feel like you want to make another move there? Where you feel like you are in your point guard spot?
We feel very good about our point guard spot. LJ Kaysen, I've been on the road and whatnot for a couple of days and came back, and it's something about that freshman to sophomore jump. He looked older, he looked bigger, and obviously to play the minutes he played shows his how advanced he was as a player. Because Coach Boynton brought it up in the staff thread that there were 0 freshmen that checked in to the national championship game. Mm-hmm. 0 freshmen checked in, and so that shows you, with the glut of old players, how difficult it is for freshmen to not only get on the floor but thrive in this era. So for him to have the opportunity to play like Pip was very beneficial to their growth, because you learn so much by getting on the floor. Then you spend all off season knowing how it feels and what it's going to take to be successful. So very happy with him. The other thing, losing Danny, is we've created, I guess, when I'm saying we've lost Danny, we haven't lost him yet. But if we do lose Danny, it opens up more playmaking for Roddy Gale. Danny was a high usage guy. Trey was a high usage guy. So it gives Roddy Gale more of an opportunity to be a primary playmaker. And if you watch our good possessions throughout the season, other than the 4-5 pick and roll, Roddy Gale feeding the post, Roddy Gale making the right reads on skip passes, Roddy rejecting ball screens and getting the paint. He did a lot of things that make a team function well. And so we're empowering him. We're encouraging him to be more of a playmaker for us, facilitator. And so I think, those guys are definitely going to play with the ball in their hands. And like I said, at FAU, we played with 4 playmakers on the court at all times. So ideally we have a couple more playmakers, and there's a lot more offensive rhythm.
I gotcha. So what about, you talk about decisions, and you haven't lost Danny yet. What about Namari? Where do things stand? Where's that conversation at with him?
We've had great conversations, and I'm very careful about speaking for any of these guys. But Namari, we want him back at the University of Michigan. We're supporting his fact-finding mission of gathering information right now. But he's a big part of this program. He's going to have he's going to have a really good basketball. He's going to get healthy. He'll have a really good basketball season next year. We anticipated to be here, but once again, nothing's finalized until it's final.
Mm-hmm.
And so we expect him to be back. We're excited for him to be back. And he was a big part of our success this year. His maturity and his leadership is impressive. I mean, he's a guy that we can at any point in weights and conditioning and practice, we can show a young kid in his direction, say that's what it looks like.
Yeah, that's outstanding. And bring you all kinds of experience. He's seen it all. It made you talk about his ability as a shooter, one of the most consistent shooters in the country. He just brought you so much in so many different areas for this team. That would be a significant returner for your team next year if he makes that decision. And so you said you haven't lost Danny yet. Let's talk in the abstract, just about guys who are in the position of sort of evaluating, sort of going pro. They're in that process of their weighing, being in the draft versus coming back to school. And you're the coach, and you are saying, hey, I got this guy and I'm holding the spot for him, and I got to wait to see what he's going to do. How do you sort of manage that whole deal where you got a guy and you might have a spot, but you got to sort of manage that and maybe also be looking to maybe use that spot? How do you do that?
Well, with the fluidity now, it's better time than ever, where if you're going to recruit the best players and you're going to, have the best players in your program, they're going to have these options, and they don't have to make a decision until X date. And so you support them. And I'll just speak on Danny. I mean, all feedback has been that he's going to be able to achieve his dreams. So our expectations are that he would go chase them. And this is, for him to be in this position, we're very, very grateful. And so anyone else, this is, hopefully every year we're going to Chicago to watch our guys perform in the pre-draft camp and in position for the NBA. And then after that, it's just, you're making a decision. Do you recruit the best players or you don't? And if you don't, then you don't have to worry about the NBA draft and all this other stuff. But if you're going to recruit the best players, then this is part of it. And so you have to build in some contingency plans. You have to have some, reserves, ready to go in case something doesn't work out. But also it's like everything else in life. It's a gamble. When you choose this school for your children, it's a gamble versus that school. I mean, it's the same thing. Do we gamble with this? And you gather all the information, you take calculated risks, and you decide, is it worth going forward or not?
Yeah, I hear that. Yeah, you play with the big dogs. This is what the big dogs do, right?
It's part of it.
I hear that. Got to go for the big guys out there. That's one of the things that you did in recruiting coming in the door. You went for the biggest and best recruits out there. Certainly, there are more guys to talk about that were already on the roster last year, but I know you were very excited about the incoming guys as well. Got a McDonald's All-American on this team, guy that we've watched grow up in this state, and Trey McKinney. And I'm curious he can do so many things. And I'm curious what your vision is. Like, what do you see him as? What do you see him being? What do you see his fit in your system being as he comes in as a freshman?
First of all, Sam, his versatility is ultimately what's going to allow him to maximize his ability. I mean, but I think Trey, and he signed early, so okay, it's hard to keep track of who's still in process and whatever the case. So Trey is a guy that I could see when he's playing with a bigger lineup, then he's a floor spacer. He's an elite shooter, reading closeouts, playing off them. Then when maybe you go with a little bit smaller lineup, you can use him in the post. You can use him as a facilitator. So I think his versatility and ability to maneuver and fit in with whatever group is probably his greatest strength at the college level and then the professional level. But he's strong, he's tough, his basketball IQ is off the charts, but most importantly, he's such a great teammate, and he's a guy that makes the right basketball play. So he's not a freshman where you're thinking, man, we have to reprogram this guy. He shot it 35 times. They never won. He's always won. He comes from a great basketball program, a great AU program. And so he's just someone that I think you can plug him into any situation and he'll be successful and fit in.
Yeah, it's and then the significance of, you come in and he not only is like a big time 5-star prospect, but he's like a big time in-state guy too. Was there any added significance to that for you? I mean, did that matter to you at all?
Maybe a little bit. His character traits mattered more. I mean, he is a winner. Like he loves ball. His energy's contagious. And so, yes, but if he was from Maine and he moved the way he moves versus not having those qualities and being from up the road, it wouldn't have been the same. But once we got to know what he was about, that's when we really, really turned up the heat and realized what was right down the street for us. And then obviously he has connections to the university and being here was important to him as well. But credit the staff once again. They developed a great relationship with his family, with the people that he trusts and he's around every day. But we're very, very grateful to for year one to have a guy in your backyard that's as talented as him. But like I said, most importantly, such a well-rounded individual that's been raised the right way. I mean, he's a special kid.
Yeah, and so you sort of already touched on one young guy earlier. You're talking about LJ, and you said year one and year two guys look different, and you said you already noticed some differences initially just in the short time here in the offseason. But what does year one to year two? What are your expectations year one to year two for LJ? Because we saw even from in year some differences, but what do you expect that jump to look like for him?
Just probably a little more consistency where he was really, really good in spots. And then our season's long and sometimes you don't get the minutes that you want. And so you lose a little bit of rhythm. But just we expect a big growth in leadership and work ethic in every facet, because your freshman sophomore year is usually a nice jump if you've played some minutes as a freshman and you know how those games feel. Because once again, until you've experienced, you don't really know. But he's obviously a talented player, especially late in the season when we were able to play our best basketball. The Texas A&M game jumps out. He brings a new, he brings a real dimension to our team with his ability to get in the paint, get by guys, and create offense. And that's something that we really, really value.
Yeah, man, he held you in that game.
Cool.
He held you in that game.
He did.
With his attitude, his demeanor. I'm gonna get to the rim, and he did.
He did.
And he did. It was huge, his ability to do that. But to me, and I'm curious, you know better than me, seeing him every day and having recruited him, I just always felt like he was a better shooter than he showed in games. Is that fair to say?
He shot it well early in the year, Sam, and then he didn't shoot it well in conference play. And there's a number of reasons for that. Sometimes you squeeze in a late shot clock shot, or sometimes, but yeah, I think without a doubt, we're very, very confident that he's going to shoot the ball much better than he did last year percentage wise. And he's a much better shooter than he showed. I think that's another level of his improvement, just more consistency with his jump shot. He was a little bit streaky, and those are the expectations of him. And I know he's going to put in the time and work at it, and he'll be a much, much better player next year.
One of the coaching points that you made that I marveled at, and you talked about it, you hung with Roddy shooting the basketball. And I don't think that was a small thing, man. And I credit Roddy for continuing to shoot it. You're talking about the Texas A&M game, hey man, that takes a lot. I credit the team for continuing to show. It's one thing for coach to tell him to keep shooting it, but the team has to continue to show confidence in him too. And they did as well. But for you as his coach to continue to tell him, hey man, if you are getting the right shots and you're making them in practice, keep shooting. That's big time. How did you do that?
Well, we take a lot of pride as a staff of helping our guys maximize their abilities, and so you're always trying to figure, especially in a small window, you're trying to find ways to best use your guys and put them in position. And Roddy played really. This is what most people don't realize. Roddy played really well early in the year, and he shot the ball well, and he shot it all summer well, and he shot it in the fall well in practice. And we have the stats, the video, all of it to back it up. And then sometimes guys will just lose confidence. It happens in baseball. It happens in basketball. It happens in every sport. And the most impressive part was just how Roddy continued to work and stay consistent with his approach, stay in the gym, but also the belief his teammates had in him. And that was probably as enjoyable as anything, watching those guys rally around him. And that shows what kind of character he has and how much they believe in him, because sometimes that's not the case. Where when he broke through, our entire locker room had a lot of, I guess, just joy for Roddy's success and knowing that he deserved it. And he'd been through a lot. It was a tough stretch. Once again, I don't want to speak for our guys, but I assume it was a very tough stretch for Roddy. But we knew all along that if we're going to reach our ceiling or come anywhere close, then he was going to be a big part of it, because we had seen it and we knew and what he's capable of. And it just wasn't happening at the point, but we knew it was going to happen at some point. We just didn't know when.
Yeah, man, that takes a lot of resolve, because I mean, it's one thing to make him in practice, but he was struggling mightily even after making him in practice, and you hung with him, and that's resolve beyond resolve, and it paid off in a big way. We had some questions that came in from the crowd as well, and one of our subscribers over on the Michigan Insider, Big Shooter One, wanted to know, he said, how has NIL at Michigan improved in the last 365 days, in your view?
It's improved greatly. And there are a lot of reasons. I think first and foremost, the way our players represent Michigan is probably the biggest reason for our NIL improvement. In other areas, our staff does a great job of developing relationships. And, when people want to help, they want to feel good about who they're helping and what it's going to. And so I think those things factored into just the overall bandwidth of Michigan. We've improved significantly. I mean, we're in a much healthier place than we were a year ago today. And the Champion Circle guys have worked around the clock for a calendar year to help us be successful. And we're very grateful for those guys as well. But it's an ongoing responsibility to try to continue to improve your program in all facets. And we've embraced that part of it, of the getting out, the boots on the ground, and developing relationships and letting people know that what they're giving is not just going into a black hole, but it's going to help in a lot of ways. And we're very, very grateful for not only our fans coming to all the games this year, but the ones that have contributed to Champion Circle. And it's much needed if we're going to be successful. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, we most often think about NIL in terms of being competitive with the other big time schools, make no mistake. But, I got several questions from fans, obviously based on you talk about going after big time guys. Some of these guys have NBA aspirations and they're considering the draft. What about NIL from that standpoint? Are you looking at NIL from the standpoint of being competitive in that aspect? Hey, having an NIL contract being competitive with what an NBA contract might offer as well? Is that a consideration?
I mean, our market allows the best players to be competitive with a second round contract. It's just every year the market's changing. Then there might be a market reset next year when you factor out the unofficial NIL, where it's going to be revenue sharing and true NIL. And so there might be a market correction next year, but the last couple of years, there's been a boom in what the players are able to make and what the market says. So now the best players at all these teams that are considering going to the NBA, you have to be competitive with that second round pick. Obviously, the first round is a guaranteed multi-year contract that's tough to compete with. But the second round picks, they're probably going to be much better off if they go to college from a financial standpoint, and it gives you a chance to move up and improve and get a chance to be a first rounder the following year.
I gotcha. Yeah, man. Got a lot of different questions coming up. So, when you look back on the season, what was the biggest thing that you took away as far as what did you learn? What did you learn your first year at Michigan, coaching this team, going through this season? What was your biggest takeaway from this season?
I learned so much, Sam, but it's always going to be the main things are the main things. Coaching our team, doing our best to invest in our players, and things like that are still going to be the most important. So I don't think we learned that. It just reconfirms that whatever level you're at, wherever you are, the main thing is still the main thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was from unknown Go Blue guy. Trying to get in a few of these from the different people. So the two big lineup, was that unique? Was that a unique thing for these unique guys, or is that something that you're going to try to recruit to now?
I wouldn't necessarily say we're going to recruit to that. If we have some 7-footers on our board that can do the things that those guys do, and obviously Danny's was loud with his passing and his ball handling, but Vlad's ability to catch the ball in basically I'd call it 8 or 10 foot radius, high, low, fast, slow, whatever the case. So if we have an opportunity to land some guys that have that skill set, then we'll definitely use it. But we're not out just recruiting for a 4 or 5 ball screen. We need guys with great skill, great character, and really strong work ethic, and hopefully we can put those guys in the best positions to be successful.
Yeah. So who was the toughest? Who were the 2 toughest coaches to coach against in the Big Ten for you?
Oh, wow.
That's
the league is full of great coaches, and I don't really want to single any out because every night is such a challenge. The older coaches obviously have done a great job developing their systems over the years, and I thought the younger coaches did a nice job as well of figuring out different ways to play. So it would be tough to say offhand, but obviously the guys at the top with the best players are always the toughest to play against.
All right, that was from VSU Brahma. All right, so let's get back to our questions. Got some questions from the crowd. So Oscar Goodman, you had the great fortune of being able to get him in early. Take us back through the recruiting process, what you saw in recruiting, and then once you got him on campus, what did you see, and what have you been able to glean from putting your hands on him, and what kind of progress has he made?
Well, we saw him in Istanbul, Turkey. I think it was the World Championships, under 17 World Championships, and he played with great physicality. He could drive the ball. He shot it well. He was quick off the floor, and we thought with his physicality and athleticism and skill that he would be a guy that we could plug and play, and like Trey McKinney, put in any situation and they'd figure out how to thrive. He's been really good. I mean, obviously it's tough coming in to a team that's been playing together for half a season and trying to acclimate, but he's done a nice job. I think his teammates really respect him. They think he's a good player, and we're excited about him because he's got a chance to grow into somebody that helps us win a lot of games here at Michigan.
Yeah, man, it's definitely so that the international. How do you do how do you keep an eye on or recruit the sort of international scene and keep an eye on that? Who does that for you? Because people also that was a question that kind of came through. It actually a good one. Like, do you, as far as the portal is concerned, are certain coaches assigned different positions? Like, how does it work as far as the portal recruiting is concerned?
We're much more collaborative than I think a lot of staffs, where we don't have a point man that is responsible for recruit. Now, there's usually someone that dives in a little deeper and develops, more relationships. But for the most part, we team recruit, all of us. And as a head coach, I usually would have to try to be the most efficient with my time. So I'll go usually every year, one tournament in Europe. And just for those that aren't familiar, imagine if every state in the Midwest, or, they pick their 10 best players and they send them to one location over a 6 or 7 day period or 8 day period. And so that's ultimately what happens in Europe, where the teams select their national teams, and over there, the countries are more like our states. And so you have an opportunity to see the best 10, 12 players from each country, or at least the upper 10 or 12 from each country in one location. So it's pretty streamlined with seeing the best guys, but our entire staff, you work your connections, you work your relationships, and you keep a pulse on really every basketball player in the world that's capable of playing at Michigan. And you just go from there. But yeah, we're not territorial. We're not position specific. It's us all recruiting together. To be honest, Sam, we're probably one of the few staffs where I actually forget who the point man was on each recruit, because we're all so involved in getting to know that person, and all of us calling and reaching out, because we have to coach them when they get here. And so you never know what happens with an assistant coach. You never know but we know that if that player is surrounded by a group that is going to pour into him, invest in him, and love him, then he has a much better chance of being successful.
Absolutely. A lot to look forward to on the recruiting trail. A lot to look forward to. You always got to keep your eye on. This is one thing I know about you. You know, people think you get a few guys, you have a little success in the portal. They think you're done, and it feels like you're never done.
Yeah, I heard a reel yesterday, the football coach at Miami, Cristobal, and he basically said the dates of the portal is always open and everyone's in the portal. And that's been a running joke. Coach Boyd also brought that one up, where he said that about a player. Someone brought up a kid and they said, is he in the portal? And he said, I think they're all in the portal. Like our team, their team, every team is in the portal. So that was obviously that's a slight exaggeration from Coach Cristobal, but that's the way it seems now. It's hard to keep track of. You know, we have services that update us to the guys that went in right away. And so that's it is what it is. But once again, we were able to be successful this year because of the portal had the amount of players in it that we were able to attract. So I'm certainly not going to benefit from something and then complain about it. It is what it is. There's good, there's bad. We do have a chance to impact more lives, and help more guys and be a part of their journey. So we're going to choose to look at it from that perspective, even though we would love to have some more guys be here with us 3 or 4 years. Absolutely.
So I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that you have people. I think people know this about you. You're a basketball coach, for gosh sakes. You're a really competitive guy, right? You like to get after it. You get after it with your guys. We actually saw you get after it with Vlad a little bit on the sideline in that Purdue game, which I was like, I don't know if people knew you had that side of you, which is pretty. I was like, hey man, that was good to see, because I was actually having the same reaction, by the way. So that was cool. But we're going to actually get a chance to see you compete. Actually, you yourself compete a bit, as Dusty May, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be swinging a bat in the Michigan Softball Academy. I was like, oh, wait a minute. Dusty is gonna be an athlete outside of his given sport, off the basketball court. So, Dusty, how did this come about? You gonna swing a bat over on the softball field?
I think Bonnie tricked me. I think I agreed to be a judge, and somehow I ended up being a participant. I haven't swung a baseball bat in a long, long time. So when we're able to get off the road, I'm gonna have to go get some practice reps just so I don't embarrass myself. But I have thrown out the first pitch at a couple baseball games, and I learned from the first one when I went into the dirt. So I'm excited for it. It's going to be fun, obviously, supporting a great cause, and just to be out with Michigan people and helping others. And it's going to be a blast. But I think the expectations, the bar should be set extremely low when it comes to softball.
Well, folks, the Softball Academy will take place April 24th. It is an outstanding experience. I think I've been participating in the Softball Academy. Wow, it must be 13, 14 years now. I've been in it. I've actually been in the Derby. Embarrassed to say. Right. So, Dusty, listen, you can't be more embarrassing in the Derby than me or Mike Hart or Jim Harbaugh, for that matter. Jimmy swung the bat and hit 0 home runs. Mike Hart swung the bat, hit 0 home runs, and I swung the bat and hit 0 home runs. So you can't do worse than that.
Well, Coach Harbaugh being a NFL quarterback not hitting it doesn't give me a lot of confidence.
But listen, you know,
in my own ability.
But listen, take a page out of Denard Robinson's book. See, what Denard did is he went over and he took Hutch's advice. So Hutch said, come over and practice. Come over, meet with some of my players, meet with some of my coaches, take a few swings, because it's not just about brute strength.
Right.
You know, there's some skill to this. Take some swings, get into the groove, and you'll hit some out. And Denard, I think, hit 2 or 3 out. And so you do that, you're a natural athlete, you'll hit a few out.
Sam Denard is a world-class athlete. And I'm not.
well, this is not me, Denard, saying this, by the way. This is Devin Gardner saying he used to be a world-class athlete. Yeah. That's what Devin said. Devin said that, not me. So he's a coach now.
Well, I'm going to let Bonnie coach me up a little bit, but just know that her coaching is not indicative of my performance. So,
so listen, folks, but the Softball Academy will take place on April 24th. And it is for a great cause, making strides against breast cancer. And so, I mean, we're pushing up on $3 million raised. And so if you want to support Dusty, this is what he's swinging the bat for, is to raise money. So if you want to donate to the cause, this is what Coach wants you to do. There's a QR code up on the screen. You can scan that QR code, and you can donate to Dusty May's swinging of the bat to help him hit home runs out of the park. And this way, he wins even if he doesn't hit a home run, right? Right? Just help him raise the money, for going out there, just giving it the old college try. That's what we want to have happen. That way he wins even if he doesn't hit one out of the infield. But we know we know you're going to do that. You're going to at least get it out of the infield, right, Dusty?
I believe, yes, I do believe that. Like I said, I don't want to speak too much until I see myself swinging softball.
I got faith in you. Listen, you don't understand how much faith I was espousing in you when you didn't even know it. It was like for weeks, if not a whole month. Like if they're going to do something, as if they were listening to me, because obviously Ward was on you long before. Like, this is the guy. So I'm saying, even now in the home run derby, put your money where your mouth is, people. Scan that QR code, donate to Dusty May in the Michigan Softball Academy in the home run derby. Hey, you can still join a team too, by the way. Whether you're donating to the cause or joining a team, the social mixer, that is a great event after the home run derby as well. It's a great cause. Making strides against breast cancer at the Softball Academy. It is a great event. This has been a rite of passage. And our first foray, by the way, into the Softball Academy, Dusty, was when the football team challenged us radio guys to a softball game. And they saw us and they said, these guys they're gonna kill. They looked at us and we're gonna kill them. We're gonna kill them. We killed him, Dusty. We can see. So I'm giving you these tidbits to give you some confidence, because it was Devin Gardner and a bunch of he was a player at the time, and they thought they were just go out there on a softball field and smash us, and we wiped the floor with them in this softball game. I'm just telling you.
So I might have much more confidence if we were playing a softball game versus trying to defeat Father Time in a home run derby.
All right, man. All right, you're going to do great, Dusty. Again, folks, the Softball Academy home run derby, that QR code is on the screen. Help Dusty out. If nothing else, infuse the man with confidence by donating to the cause. Dusty, it's been great having you in studio, man. Continue to kill it in the portal, or cook. I've been saying Dusty is cooking in the portal, so continue to cook in the portal. Have a great off season, man, and thanks a lot for your time.
Well, back to the home run derby. Let's just make sure Mac and the guys over at Valor are open the next day. I'm assuming I'm gonna need some treatment.
You look like you're in great shape, man. You're gonna be all right.
Sam, I appreciate having me on. It's been a fun year, and excited to make another run at it next year.
All right, thanks a lot, man. And to the rest of you folks, thanks for joining us as always. I think our next guest, what did Ward say? He's stopping by. He'll stop by after the spring game. We'll see if we can get Sharon to stop by. We'll see if we can. We're gonna get the request in to Santa as well. We're gonna get some more guests in here to the studio. Some more players are gonna be coming by as well. So stay tuned for the next edition of the Michigan Insider. We'll see you then on the Big 1050 WTK online at the Big1050.com.
One more thing, Sam. Season tickets are now on sale. We had great support this year. We appreciate our fans. Let's do it again. Let's make Chrysler even more rocking next year.
Look at this guy. We'll see you next time, folks.
All right.
Outstanding.
God, I can't believe I